All right, we're on air.
All right. So I literally just finished watching all
the
this
movie?
stuff. Yes. I didn't even get all the way down to confirmation bias. It's the only video I didn't get to watch, but everything else I did.
I didn't finish all the videos here. Scrolled down the paper for the assignment. I'm just like, holy crap! Can we see that many videos?
Luckily, they were short, pretty short.
Yeah,
but
I'm
didn't
having a
quite
hard
make it.
time like pinpointing the movie with those fallacies.
Yeah.
Think about it, and I was just trying to think about parts of the movie, and I couldn't really. There's maybe a couple I could probably pinpoint, but I guess we'll just go over it.
Yes. All right. So we'll start with the ASU charter. Did everybody have a chance to review? I watched the video. That was all that I did for that one. For A.
Let me see. I missed that one.
Okay, I can talk about it. So the ASU charter has three specific I get points, I guess. Like there are three topics, or I don't really know what to call them. Three bullets of what the charter is. So those three were deeply committed to inclusion, impact on public good, and responsibility for the broader community. And it was actually really pretty cool to see because it's specific to the first bullet, inclusion versus exclusion. So I mean, from a Selma point of view, that's like, I guess, segregation or desegregation. Right. But also inclusion and exclusion has just a lot to do with letting everybody have the same opportunities. So what they talked about with that one was open and accessible education for everybody and being an adaptive university versus a rigid university. Impact on public good. The focus there was, are we bettering the community? So the things that the university is doing, are they kind of reaching outside of just the university and making things better for the space around it? And the last bullet was responsibility for the broader community. And I think it's kind of the same as the second one. So I was kind of confused on the difference there, but anyway, so it was a really cool video. It's pretty short. I think it was only like 7 minutes. So give it a watch if you're interested. But it is pretty cool to know that we go to a school that cares about that kind of stuff. So
right, yeah, and they have a huge reach too with like their online programs. So I think they're getting a lot of diversity, more so than like I went to the University of Utah, and that was, it wasn't very diverse. Everyone was from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Cool. All right. So Selma, it took me forever to watch it. I kept falling asleep. That's because I didn't sleep well last night. So I think it took me like over 3 hours to watch it. Okay. So history has never been my thing. And in this case, I was like, I don't know what's happening. So I had to like Google what it was even about first because which probably speaks to a lot of my white privilege that I had no idea what any of it really was about. So made me feel a little guilty.
Yeah, I liked the movie. I thought it was pretty good. It really kind of pinpoints the troubles, even in like the late 60s, early 70s, that there was still so much, divisiveness and segregation. You could that time frame, and I know that like their civil rights were on the move, and they were kind of like getting a foothold, and things were starting to change. But like there were states that were going against, segregation laws and voters' rights laws. They were just not letting people vote. It was just blatant. They weren't even trying to hide it. They were just like, no, you can't vote, even though it was their right.
I know. I couldn't believe she specifically said like, don't talk about this one scene, but the fact that the guy at the registration office was like asking her all those questions and like to recite the preamble. I'm like, I only know the first like 4 words of the preamble. We the people or whatever. I
didn't even know that.
Yeah, and then he was like, name every single 67
yeah,
court judges or whatever.
they were. Yeah, I thought that was just nuts. And
He didn't ask. That's all. Just because he knew she couldn't do it, so it was like,
right.
Right.
Who could? I doubt he could have. I kind of really wanted her to do it just to like show him, but
Yeah.
I was surprised she knew the 67. I don't even know what those positions are that he was talking about. Oh, I'm a horrible American. So I wrote just a few notes for that one. You kind of touched on it, Wes. Is like it's hard to believe that times like what we saw are in like our parents' lifetime. Like that is not. It was not long ago at all.
Right.
You know, I think it started in 1964. I think I saw 1964 was like when the movie was set or somewhere around there. I mean, my mom was born in 1961, so
Right.
she was old enough to know what was going on, but that's only 30 years before, yeah, a little less than 30 years before I was born.
Right.
Nuts,
So if you think about it, that was like, if that was our time, I'm 32, so we're probably around the same age. I was born in 86, so if that was 30 years ago.
yeah, right.
Can you imagine if you were 30 and that was 30 years ago, and
It's crazy.
Can you imagine that be going on in the 80s? I can't imagine it.
I just can't imagine having to see it like the. And hi. It was really sad. A lot of it made me really sad. And it's not like, yes, that is over for now, not over, but it's better now, but that
Still not perfect,
happening.
right? But
Yeah, like things are still happening, and there's still horrible things going on in our country, and we just never quite seem to really get it all together. Sucks. So I also wrote, I didn't realize that after segregation was made illegal, that there was still like so much struggle after that, I guess. And that's kind of where the authority fallacy, appeal to authority, kind of comes into play. Like I'm a rule follower. I always have been. I've always been very afraid of getting in trouble. So it, like, in my head, I'm naive enough to think like, okay, well, now it's the law and everybody's just going to abide by it.
Right.
I don't know why
Yeah, I don't know if they would be able to get away with that today. Like, I really don't. I don't think. I would hope not. I'm sure there's still shady stuff going on that in 30 years. I can't believe they got away with that. But just to blatantly not let people vote, or just segregate people and things like that. That's, I don't know.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing that they were willing to go through all of that for the right to vote.
Right. I kind of just wanted to reflect. When I was watching the movie, I was trying to reflect on the chapters that we had to go over.
Mm-hmm.
About how, enlisting others and envisioning the future. I feel like he was talking about that a lot. He was enlisting so many people. It didn't matter. Like in the marches, you see white people, you see different people of different genders and creeds and backgrounds, and just the way he spoke, he was like a genuine speaker.
Well, and that's him as an effective leader too. Like that's from the heart and that's genuine and it's real. And whether or not he was trying to recruit people or whatever, people followed him and followed what he was doing.
Yeah.
And did a great job. So
think of how, though, if you were a leader in that position, like the moments in the movie where he finds out people are dying for this cause that he's trying to lead. It's like, as a leader, and you're thinking to yourself, this is so important, but there's people dying, innocent people dying over something that, I'm kind of the head person for. It's like, that's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like there was some doubt, like when he gets put in jail. Remember when he gets put in jail and he's talking to that other guy and he's like, what does it even matter if we get them the right to vote and they still can't afford food to, feed their families? And then the one guy was just basically like, you just got to take it one thing at a time, solve one problem and move to the next.
And you could tell that when that white guy was murdered by the, I'm assuming, Confederate kind of folk, that really hurt him. Like when he was in the bathroom or whatever, and they had said that somebody was hurt and that he had died.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell that really, really, really impacted.
But in the jail scene, though, because Wes mentioned one thing that he said, but in that scene, I had taken notes because one of the last things he said to him was like, they're going to destroy me to destroy this movement. And that played into him kind of getting set up, like them trying to destroy his home life and make it seem like he's cheating to break him down. And I don't know, the quote was just kind of crazy to me because he knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, and then not only that, like J. Edgar Hoover was saying that, we could really get rid of this guy, like basically saying he could kill him.
Authority, that's where I thought the authority fallacy came in.
Yeah, right.
The president was saying he's just an activist, he's no good.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe you guys have a better understanding of when the guards or the police or whatever cleared the way. What do you guys think, or do you know why he really turned around that time?
I know later, not too much later in the movie, and I remember one of the discussions they were saying they were arguing in the church or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Whatever room they were in, and because he bowed down to pray, and they said, well, he got an answer from God, and that was his answer. But he's right. If he didn't feel right about something, it was just too easy, it could be a trap. He knew there were still things like legislation and stuff that had to be set in stone before it could just happen. It wasn't just going to happen because the cops are going to move out of the way. It actually had to be written in stone, written into legislation for it to actually hold weight. So he did. I think he felt like he would be leading a lot more people to their death if he were to have continued along that day.
That makes a lot of sense when you say it that way, because when he said that it could have been a trap, I thought that was just like a cop out. I didn't think that was really, I don't know. That didn't make sense to me, but
I kind of felt like he sensed that something was bad was going to happen, like they were going to attack him or something. That's what I kind of thought.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it was just terrifying. Every scene where they encountered all the policemen and all that stuff, it was really hard to watch. It was really, really hard to watch. And the scene where the son, the younger kid, got shot in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Even the old guy, I mean, they're just beating him.
I know, just absolutely.
He was 82 years old, and they were just beating him down.
Oh my God.
Women hitting them with them.
Yeah, I know.
They said that he was born in 18. What did he say? 1880s?
83 or something.
Yeah, 83. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and can you imagine, even then, how much time had gone by in his lifetime, and the things that he saw. What's that?
He saw slavery. He might have been.
Literally.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I think was he the one at the end that said at 84 he was the first person in his entire family to register to vote? Right. I liked that part at the very end where they kind of went over everybody's story and what they ended up doing. And something that I found really surprising was the amount of political positions that those guys ended up having. Because at that time, on that day, there's no way there were any black people in any kind of office or political job. So That was a big turning point for a lot of reasons.
I think even if there were Black people and those kind of things, still would have been kind of silenced into to lead or position they wanted to. They could out at any minute. Like they kind of played to what they were kind of taught to do.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it the right way, but
yeah, it was not a time I am glad that I wasn't around for that. I don't.
Right.
I mean, that's obviously the things that are going on in our world right now are hard too. But I am definitely glad that I wasn't around for that.
do you guys feel like the stuff? I mean, I know she kind of wanted us to discuss some like Black Lives Matter stuff in comparison to this, but would you have been one of the white folk to march in the protest? Would you have been willing to lay your life down for that cause as opposed to the issues that we see today? Like, do you feel like the issues today are actually for a legitimate cause for
I do.
for civil rights, or was that like I would have marched for that back then, but now I don't think so much.
There's a difference because like sometimes there's peaceful protests today, but most of the time recently there's been a lot of like really violent protests and looting and stuff, and I think that's retarded to, sorry if that offends anybody, but I think it's dumb to burn down a store in your community if you're trying to like make your community better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Violence, and they're using violent methods in order to make their point. It's completely contradictory to everything that they're trying to stand up for, and they don't even see it.
Yeah, I think sometimes if it's a peaceful protest I'm all for that, and I think that's the way it should have been in the beginning. But a lot of it got ruined and tainted by violent protests and stuff. So
yeah, it definitely did, and I would say that I try really hard to be open-minded and progressive, and like obviously I'm white. I've always been white. Everything's really just gone okay all my whole life. I mean, the only thing I maybe don't have going for me is that I'm a woman, and there's like the pay gap and whatever. But I've not had any of the struggles that these people have had. So it's Facebook can get out of line, and people get all up in arms and have their own opinions and whatever. So I really do try to understand it and completely agree that the violent stuff is horrible and it's not sending any kind of good message. And the only thing that I can think of from their perspective is they feel like that's the only way they can be heard or start the conversation, or I don't know.
Maybe I guess if they had a leader like as eloquently speaking as Martin Luther King was, like he was, like, and you saw in the movie like how he was getting crap for being a non-violent protester for Malcolm X and all that. And I don't know. There's not too many. There are some really like famous Black people that support the movement, Black Lives Matter and things like that. But I don't know if they have like that figure like Martin Luther King was. And maybe that's what they're missing, right? I think that if they had someone like that, then it could really change things. But they just don't. I don't see it.
No, I would agree, and I think. Yeah, I think that isn't something that I had ever really thought about, but I think that's a good point. And I think a lot of people have tried to do that.
Right.
But he was so good at it. Like, he really was just he was such a good leader. Even when he was unsure of himself, he still led people appropriately. And actually, that kind of ties into the Blue Latitude stuff. Like when Captain Cook came out in his underwear when the ship struck the Great Barrier Reef and was like calmly telling everyone what to do, even though like he's probably scared out of his mind too. So
yeah, I didn't realize that whole story either. Like, I'm glad that we got to learn about that, because I never really even knew that he existed until a week ago.
Yep. Same. Yeah, I didn't either. I got the paper copy,
So
and I always get online textbooks, and I'm like, God, I really hate paper copies. No, not my thing. So I'm struggling with that one. But anyway, I don't want to digress too
I
much.
struggle with e-text because I'd rather hold something instead of my big huge laptop and like take it with me wherever I go, and I can't really do that with my laptop. So
Yeah. No, I'm over it. I hate the paperback or just the physical copy. Mm-mm.
I'm old.
Drives me nuts now. Well, I've been in this online program for ever and ever and ever, so it's just what I'm used to. All right, so let's
talk about these fallacies and might just go over them, and because
I asked too, like what, like 3 or so parts of the movie that really stood out.
Yeah, if you want to talk about like specific scenes, I think we've kind of mentioned a few. My first one that I have is just the very first scene, like the opening scene with the little girls, and I actually watched it twice. It was a hate crime.
But
yeah,
it's
they
like
got bombed.
Anything else about it? Like there was no lead up to it, really. There was nothing to the movie that kind of explained that. It was just completely random.
It was, yeah, and I don't know what it was. I like I said, I've just finished right before.
I think it was a church bombing or something like that. It was a church bombing, and all those children died.
And that's still happening. Like, it is still happening.
Yeah, I mean, that one kid that went in the all-black congregation and shot them all up, and yeah, I mean, it happens still to this day, and it's pretty sad that all that work and all that fighting to stop it then.
Yeah, no doubt. I can only imagine. I mean, I'm sure there are still people that like walked in that march that are still around right now and seeing all this happening again.
Right.
It's just I mean, it's not like it ever really ended, but it's definitely gotten a lot worse in the last, several years. So,
sure.
But yeah, that scene I watched it twice because when the bombing happened or whatever it was, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was looking for context. I'm like, what is going on here? But
I didn't get it. Like I got it, but I didn't just like what.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't explain it. It was just kind of like a shocking opener, I guess. But
it was. But I think that's the point. Like it gives you like everybody loves little kids. They're cute. They're just innocent and sweet and fun. And so I think it was just like it was such an attention grabber. And there's so many things that we hear about, like the kid getting shot in the restaurant. It would be like, yep, that happens all the time. Like, this is not a new thing. But that was like, okay, you have my attention now. And made me really sad, obviously, as a mom. So that was rough.
How many people were in that restaurant, like with that scene? Because that was one of the ones, like that whole night march stood out to me. But there was a bunch of people in that little restaurant. And like the only people there left watching were like the chef or the cook or something behind the counter. And like no one's over there helping. Everyone's just scared to death to stand up.
Well, that's the authority thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you notice, they're all black, like patrons. They're all black. They were all black. Like black
they weren't participating. They were just trying to keep the peace and just stay out of it. And that's part of what Dr. King was trying to say. Like you're just as responsible for these deaths and the reason that we're not progressing if you're just standing by and letting it happen.
Exactly.
I think the one that I liked was when he, when he went to Selma, there was another organization there, and I can't remember it was like the Christian.
The
something
SPNCC or something.
SCCC or something. And those two guys were at the table, and they were basically ready to like, this is our movement. We've been here, and he basically just shut them down with his speaking. He was just talking to them about their strategy, and they were like, all right, we'll join you guys.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And that just goes into how he was just able to enlist others and like totally transform the room.
Yeah. I know this wasn't the chapter that we were talking about this week, but knowing enough about the 5 practices, how much encourage the heart this was that he was able to do was.
Yeah.
And and encourage others to act. Obviously, all the people that followed him and all that, but or enable the heart. I cannot remember if it's enable or encourage. I think it's enable.
Yeah, it might be. Is it encourage?
All of them.
Is it encourage? I
think
can't
so.
remember. Anyway, my point stands.
Pretty good. It's close.
Did you guys have any other scenes? I don't want to just say all mine at once.
Let me see.
I'm good.
I think I put the march scene where he prays and then they turn around.
Yeah.
He turned around because he didn't feel right. Yeah, I kind of said all.
Or when they get across the bridge and all the guards let them just kind of go across, and they're just standing there. That was kind of an intense moment because you didn't know they were going to be attacked.
Right.
I didn't feel that though. I didn't feel that at the end. So it was kind of like there was the first march over the bridge, and it was just like them on the sidewalk, like maybe 3 deep on each side, all back. And then like the second march was more, and then you turn around. Like the third march, it was like the whole street. But I didn't get that even in the movie at the last march that I did with the second one when they turned around. I didn't feel like they were fearful anymore. It's like they knew they had won. They knew that the legislation was passed, it was signed, announced properly, and I didn't get that sense from the last march.
So, do you guys happen to know the our right to peacefully assemble? Is that as a result of this, or was peaceful?
I think it was before.
Yeah.
Because in the
that's
very
what I thought
beginning,
too.
he was like, "We're peacefully protesting," and then the guy was like, "You're loitering or you're blocking the road." Remember? And then he used that as an excuse.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Said it at
the guy with the
at the end when they were announcing that this shall happen. He kind of said it like, we have laws that state this is what it is, and we're not basically not doing what we're saying we're doing.
Well, exactly. That was exactly where I was going too, because it was at one point in the movie, and that may be what you were talking about when it was a guy with a megaphone or something said, you don't have a right to do this or blah blah blah. You're illegally whatever, and nobody said anything. And I feel like if I was there, I would have been like, no, we literally have a right to peacefully assemble. So,
and they
step aside.
But there was still. It's like there was still some loophole in the laws that allowed certain states to be able to do the things that they did. Yeah. And those specific laws needed to change. It needed to encompass the entire country, state, local laws. Like federal laws and state laws are usually like federal. It had to be federal basically because that takes precedence over like state and local laws, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I really liked in the final march. I loved that they showed original footage, and I thought that was really, really cool. And you could just see like the relief on people's faces and how happy they were. And I also loved the like smug white people, like the one guy that like flipped off the camera. I thought that was really funny. I was just like, you're just a shithead, and I hope you're not raising your children to be shitheads just like you because you're a cool person.
But it's like the nature of shitheads has not changed too.
Nope.
No, you still see it. Yeah.
They're still here.
That means he did raise his kid. He did raise a shithead.
Maybe his kid has a better brain and a nicer heart. I hope. Oh man, that makes me so sad. So I guess speaking of, if we're allowed to really kind of go into any of that stuff, specifically around ASU, did you guys see the videos of the women that took their kids around to the mosques in Tempe? And did you see any of that? Okay, it made somewhat national news, but I still follow a lot of Arizona news just because I lived there for so long. There were 2 women who took all their kids, like, I don't know, there's probably 4 or 5 of them, drove around in a van in Tempe. And there are a few mosques and other, various kind of churches or areas of worship. And they were just saying just these awful, awful, horrible things. And could hear the kids like repeating them and saying just these horrible things.
Oh,
And it
I think
just made me so
I read
sad.
kind of that article, but I didn't know it was in Tempe. The article was
Yeah.
like, mom rate is teaching kids how to be racist around town or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was bad. I mean, I watched the video and I kind of wish I wouldn't because it was
That's
just really terrible.
going on everywhere. Like they're again with Facebook because social media drives everything these days. But there was some photo of some Trump protest, and there was two young, pretty sure they were black kids, but they had to have been no older than 8 years old. That said F the whole word Trump. It's like teaching your kids to hate instead of teaching them the reasons behind it, why this and that is wrong, and even though it's wrong, you still don't hate. Like they're teaching their kids this behavior. It's
Yeah,
scary.
that's not appropriate.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
like you're 8 like you teach your kids not to curse, but yet you're putting you as a parent are putting your child in a T-shirt with one of the worst curse words there is on it, and encouraging you to say it. Disgusting.
Yep. I would agree. That's inappropriate.
That's that kind of stuff. I mean, hate crimes are just. I didn't read any or hear anything on the news. Actually, I don't really have news. I have Netflix and Hulu. That's about it.
Yep.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
News is depressing these days.
It is.
You don't know
They have news sections in the news that say good news.
Oh God.
Go to like MSN.com or something like that. They have a good news page because everyone's like so tired of all the shit news.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's awful. And I just like, I mean, my daughter is only 15 months old. And I'm like, what on earth is she going to see in her lifetime?
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we could go over these fallacies and kind of get a.
Yeah, let's
some
do
of them
that.
are kind of hard to even grasp. I don't. So the first one's appeal to authority.
Yeah. So, go ahead. Yeah, we did. And I would say, like I kind of said, like I'm a rule follower. I'm definitely guilty of the appeal to authority, like 100%. Like I think it was just raised like respect your elders, listen to your parents. Anyone that's got like a remotely important sounding job title, I'm like, yes, okay, whatever you say, I will do it. And it's terrible. And so I really found myself conflicted in the movie with that because like the sheriff, like I don't think I could have followed what he was like doing, but he's a sheriff. So like it was just.
But the other cops were,
right.
Their appeal to authority was under him. It's not with the protesters,
Right.
And then you had the governor of, was it Alabama? Right? Was he the governor? The one that was like basically like letting it all happen. And then he went to the president and was like, it's my state, it's the South, sorry, what are you going to do? And then the president was like, you're going to get it under control.
I'm the president.
I'm the president, yeah. You're a governor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that I'm super, super guilty of that. Yeah, it's bad. I mean, it's got me out of a lot of trouble, but also it doesn't always make sense. It's not always really right. And as I get older, I realize that more. Just because you have this title doesn't mean you actually know what you're talking about. You just schmoozed your way and did a great job in your interview or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what is the difference between that and then there's this other one that's appeal to inappropriate authority? Is that basically what you're kind of saying? Like you're appealing to the authority that isn't really an authority at all? Is that kind of?
Yeah, I think so. Like it just gives the appearance that it's some type of authority on the subject when it's really not. Okay. I think context and audience have a lot to do with that, though. Because what's an authority to one person may not be to another.
Yeah, so the that video I thought was really funny, and I love that show. But what I wrote down on my notes for that one was the We Say So Corporation, which is so funny.
Lab coat,
right? Because like even like the CDC, like we obviously get a lot of information and news from the CDC, and I'm not like saying that they're bad or anything, but you see the CDC says, and you're automatically like, okay, the smart people say it, and that's just what we're gonna do.
I better believe it. Yeah.
Right. So
now, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I think the way to get around that is you have to always be that person that questions everything, even though it's hard. And you have to understand where they're coming from and what is their incentive for telling you something.
Right. Incentive, good or bad.
Right, because like sometimes I'll be at work and I'll have somebody tell me something, and then I'll go ask somebody else about it, and they'll be like, "Oh, they're just telling you that because they want you to do this, this, and this." And then I go, "Oh, that makes so much sense,"
Mm-hmm.
So do you believe that person that you go ask?
Yeah, and then you have to. Who do you believe at the end of the day? That's the thing. Why are they telling you that?
Honestly, on that, I think it's so taxing. I think part of the problem is there's just, if you think about it, there is so much information available to us like that. If you were to actually go and research everything that you questioned on top of work and school and whatever obligations and families and illnesses and whatever else you have going on in your life, it would take you hours to research one thing to actually find the truth about it by searching information online or talking to people. Like it is just such a chore to do.
Right.
And a lot of people they just rely on that one news channel to give them the news, and that's because they don't have the energy or the interest in going to find out.
Yeah, and the same thing goes with people at work. They're just like, all right, well, he wants me to do that, so I'm gonna go do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just easier that way, right? And that's
Times it is. Yeah.
The truth isn't, to find out the truth, it isn't easy, and it's not always an easy.
So the ad hominem attack, that one's like a personal attack on somebody for
their opinions, yeah, or their arguments.
And I saw a lot of that in that show. That was one that I was like, okay, because they were calling like Martin Luther King a degenerate, and he was a thug, and like they were trying to make him out to be this like person that he really wasn't.
And we still see that today too.
Yeah, and you still see it and you hear about it. Like if you talk to like somebody about Martin Luther King that didn't agree with him, they're like, he was a drunk driver and a womanizer, which I don't know. I mean, maybe he was, but that right there is a personal attack. That's a direct link to this.
Right. And that's an easy thing to do, because if you want to, it's kind of like straw man. I guess those two kind of like go a little hand in hand, where like you can kind of get into an argument about, such and so has, ugly hair, and then you're trying to bring that to an argument when that's not even an argument at all.
Yeah, and the minute you bring that into the workplace, you've totally you totally put yourself at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
I've seen people get in arguments at work, and I'm like, ooh, that's going to be hard to come back from. You can't take those words back.
Man. You know it too. When you're watching that unfold, and you're like, oh, honey, where are you going with this? Oh, God. I'm a horrible arguer. I have that down here for with the red herring stuff. And straw man, but like I am a bad arguer. I really am. So I try not to get into arguments at all, even if I feel like passionate about something. Like I'm not.
No conflict zone.
You're a rule follower, but you're a terrible arguer. How do you manage that one?
Well, because I just listen to what other people say. I just do it. I don't argue. I don't do conflict at all. Like, or confrontation in any.
I thought you meant like you argue a lot. I'm like, how are you?
Oh no, I don't. No, I mean like I'm bad at it, so I don't do it.
Sorry, I thought you were completely different.
Sorry, no. I'm bad because Nope.
Bad you don't, in other words.
Yes, I'm bad, so I
Some
don't, and I
people
will
are good
avoid
at it, though. Some people are natural debaters, you know?
which I find annoying most of the time because I'm like, can we just be done with this? Like, this is just.
I don't know. Me personally, I'm not someone that goes and looks for confrontation. I don't particularly care for confrontation, but I mean, when it comes to things that deep it within you actually believe in, that you're passionate about, that you feel is inherently right or just wrong, I mean, I feel like I'll stand up for myself. I've had to stand up for myself, for other people. Um, if you feel something's wrong, you should speak up. But I mean, I don't just go. Some people actually live for confrontation. They like conflict,
Yes.
like drama, and I think it's good to be reserved. If it's petty, you shouldn't involve yourself. But when it comes to values and things that are important at the core, that they should be stood up for.
Yeah, and not only that, if you get into like a confrontation, it's so taxing and it makes going to work horrible.
Yes.
And
Especially if it's something at work, because then
right,
it's
if it's
just
at
like,
work,
how long is it going to take you to come back from that? Because you're probably going to have to still see that person or those people for a long time.
yeah.
Oh
Otherwise,
God,
the only thing you can do in those situations is talk it out, really.
oh my
Hug it
God, that
out.
sounds awful.
Yeah.
You can't even
I'm
do
an
that
avoider.
now.
Yeah, that's true.
HR has to get involved as mediators. Like you can't even really talk things out with people anymore because they're already offended. And any type of you trying to approach them and have a discussion, they're, oh no, you're trying to attack me again. Like I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, seriously? Like I'm trying to come to you as an adult, but people can't do that either. It's kind of sad.
It
That's
is.
kind
It
of like, I don't
definitely
know, do
is.
you guys have like protocols for that? Because we have kind of a protocol for that, and it is like go to the person and talk to them before you talk to the manager about it. Like you guys need to solve it at your level before. So if they're doing that, and then if you go to somebody and you're like, let's talk about this, and then they do what you said and act like that,
yeah,
that kind of ruins the whole system at my work.
Yeah.
But some people, I mean, I've seen it go both ways, but
I guess it just kind of depends. We have an open door. I think we talked about this maybe in our first week. We have an open door policy at State Farm. So, I mean, it's great if you can do it, between the two of you, but also you have the opportunity to go talk to any person of leadership about anything. So, for red herring,
that one was hard
that one, well,
for me.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. Can you?
yeah,
What does that
I can
mean?
try. Okay, so and the reason this is embarrassing, I'm super guilty of this in just conversations in general, not necessarily arguments, like I said, and I put right here, like, I'm not a good arguer, so I don't have any kind of intentional tactics like this. So what'll happen is like, so you get in an argument with another person and you are already not feeling confident about you being able to win this fight. So you throw in a distractor and then you go off on that tangent and never go back to where you
What
were.
about the time that you said this? Don't you remember that? And yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
One way and then going the other.
Mm-hmm. And then it said, like at the end of it said, and basically your conclusion has absolutely nothing to do with the original argument.
Content.
So
yeah.
And I'm a digressor in conversation in general. So it's like we could just be talking about whatever, and then I'm like, oh wait, but that reminds me of this thing. Let's talk about that. And it's how did we end up here?
But like that without even being arguments, just like
right.
Conversation is just like one thing leads to another, and it's like you're talking for hours about all kinds of different stuff, and you never really finished what you wanted to say. Like, I had a point about that, and then we never got back to it.
And then it's not till like way later that you figured out that you didn't actually finish the conversation.
But I mean, I understood the fallacy, but I couldn't apply it to the movie. I guess I couldn't really pinpoint a specific part of the movie that it really related to.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Luther King was very eloquent speaker, so like he didn't. I don't think he needed that. He was always like, "Here's my message. This is
Well,
what we're
I would
talking about."
say if we could somehow relate it, it wouldn't be on his part. It would have been the people that were against him.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I didn't really know how to connect that, so I just assumed it was just kind of also on top of all of the other things going on. Straw man,
It's kind
I
of the
said
same.
earlier. Well, yeah, kind of, but just really poor foundation. Like maybe in red herring, like you are passionate, you have a stance. Here is what I have to say, and then the other person like just like kills it and is just real. You know they're gonna win, and you're like, okay, that didn't work. Whereas I think straw man is like
Is a point
you
of
kind
frustration.
of have an idea, like you kind of know what you're talking about. Maybe you're just in the mood to argue, but it's just like horrible, and so it doesn't go anywhere. But I wrote my note. I'm actually consciously afraid of getting into arguments like this
Aww.
because I can like react really quickly, but then I'm like, oh my god, how did I get here, and what am I going to do? Because I don't know all these things.
You panic.
That's when you just make. That's when you do an ad hominem attack on them and just say, "Well, your hair sucks."
Oh my god, you have a bugger in your nose.
Last night I was at a bar and started getting into some kind of conversation, totally not sober, and finally I'm like, I think we're just gonna have to end this here before it gets worse. So I thought I did a pretty good job.
You didn't do a personal attack on them.
No, because I like the person, but I was just like, we are not going to Greece, so this is just not worth it. And also, my ice is melting my drink, so let's go back inside.
Fun. Oh my god, so I got a good one, I guess, for arguments. But so yesterday, uh I'm doing dishes. Randall, I'll try to keep the story short, but I'm doing dishes. I have my door open because like the weather's really nice, so I have to scream, and I hear arguing, and this car is pulled all like crazy cattywampus behind my car parked across the street, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I look, and there's some like shirtless, tatted up tweaker guy walking past the car, and this chick's yelling at him, "Get the F in the car!" And then he gets in the car, and then she like turns around and speeds off. Well, like 2 minutes later, I hear clunk. I was like, "Oh crap!" Because there's a stop sign, like four-way, right? They ran the four-way in T-bone some poor lady.
Oh no!
Over, and I was like, "Oh crap!" And I felt like I needed to go check it out, because if the cops weren't called or if someone tried taking off, I could be like, well, they were clearly arguing and were the cause of the accident because they weren't paying attention or whatever. So there's a casino across the street from my house, and some of the people over there were like outside calling the cops already. And this chick's like, she's throwing cans of beer and Four Loko out of her car, and then proceeds to take her toddler out of the back seat.
Oh no!
Like, holy crap! Tweaker dude took off running down the street. Well, anyway, the cop gets there. What's the first thing she starts doing? She's already on the phone crying, calling someone, I don't know who, and then she just starts arguing with the cop. Like, wrong move, honey. Wrong move.
She's got no appeal to authority.
No. Something somewhere along the lines there was the word crackhead got thrown in there, and the cop yelled something back at her like, I didn't call you craphead, I called you I don't know what he said. It was kind of inappropriate, and yeah, it was just really, it was a trip.
That poor baby.
Yeah, that's the only thing I felt bad for. I'm like, yeah, you're going to jail, you should be crying. She's lucky she had like her sister or someone walk up the street to come get the kid, but yeah, she was going to jail.
Wow.
That
Drama.
sucks.
Good.
Oh man, that's scary.
Yeah, but you don't, like, when you know you're in a position like that, just to the argument point, to kind of stay on topic. It's like you have absolutely no position whatsoever to start getting loud or
Yeah.
It's just like you have to know when your argument will not hold any kind of weight. And
Yeah.
just be an adult. Just go, okay.
Well, I think we could, with the very, the little context that we have, we could actually connect almost all of these so far to that to that argument. I mean, ad hominem attack, obviously it sounds like somebody called somebody a crackhead or whatever it was.
I
Authority
believe
fallacy, she has none.
the cop said it, I believed it.
The guy that was a position of authority.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh man.
So what
That's
about
hilarious.
confirmation bias? Did you guys read about that?
I wasn't able to get that far.
So that one
got
is,
all the
I
way up
got
to
it
there.
pulled up here. It says the tendency to search for, interpret, favor, or and recall information in a way that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs or hypothesis. So they're basically picking information that backs up their claim when it doesn't necessarily back up their claim.
Yeah.
I have definitely experienced that. I mean, I think we probably all have.
I think everybody does it because we're human and our brains are computers. So we see something that looks familiar, we're like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? I think it's unintentional sometimes, but I think it does happen intentionally also.
And I have a resting bitch face, like really bad. Like it's just my face. I can't help it. And so a lot of people will, when they finally like talk to me, like, I thought you were a huge bitch. Like, no, it's just my face. I'm really nice. So my first impressions aren't always very great because if I'm not intentionally smiling, it's just not, I don't know.
But
it doesn't work in my favor.
That too. A lot of people always come, what's wrong? I'm like,
what's wrong?
That's me.
Some guy that one time, I walked into the store to buy tires. He was like, either you're having a bad day or you know, you're pissed about something. I was like, oh no, honey, I just have RBF.
Yeah, real bad.
What? Yeah.
You had to break it down for him, huh? RBF.
Like if you walk around smiling all the time,
it's creepy. Yeah.
It's called heavily medicated.
T-boning people in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have another example of this though. Personally, so I work with this guy that I went to high school with, and when I showed up on my first day and he was there, I was like, oh no, this is not going to work. And it took me several weeks to like let go of that, and now we're like really great friends. I'm like, God, I hope people don't think about me like from high school. But that was the last time I had seen him and the last interaction I had ever had with him. Like, he's totally cool now. Like, that was a long time ago. But totally happened.
For different people, though, that's part of growing up, I guess. I mean, we all play these. There's so many fallacies. I don't think we could actually have a normal conversation or be human without some kind of fallacy in play at any given time.
If you look at like the movie, the people that were behaving racist and obviously just blatantly wrong, I don't think they really thought they were wrong.
Right.
They were interpreting it that they were, because you talk about the governor talks about, let all the races just live separately and thrive in peace, and like they really thought that was like segregation was a good thing, like that was their belief. And I don't know, I just feel like that was just something they intentionally, or not intentional, but they just really truly believed that they were right and they were the good guys.
Right. Well, and we've talked a little bit about kids and all that stuff too, but I think a lot of it, if not the very vast majority, is people are just raised to be a particular way, and in order to change their like worldview takes a lot of time and effort. So they're kind of screwed from the get-go if they really come from, those kids that will be adults, or, the adults that were kids that were raised even in worse times than, their own kids. So a lot of that is hard.
There's hope, but yeah, you're right. It is hard when you're basically raised as that being part of your value system. And value systems like religion and belief, that type of stuff is incredibly difficult to break someone of, because it's ingrained into who you are as a person. It's part of your identity. It's a
Yeah.
completely.
Did you guys take an implicit bias test on any of your classes, like a diversity class or anything like that?
Not that I remember. It's been a while.
They did, but I can't remember the results.
That's where they showed you the faces and like there'd be like a black person and then you had to like, you remember that?
Yeah.
What would you have to do?
So there's faces that would flash on the screen and they would be like different ethnicities, and then you would press like a button when you saw, I don't remember exactly how it worked, but basically it would basically tell you if you had any biases against any type of nationality at the end. And I don't know how much I believe it, but
it asked you if the click this if the face of the person you see looks upset or something, and then a face would flash and you'd click yes or no, and then it would ask you some different question about the faces, the facial expression or something. And yeah,
and then it would associate bad words with certain faces, and you had to like associate them or like something like that, and then good words with like other faces, and then it was like really long, drawn out process. But in the end, it was like you have a bias against this ethnicity or something like that.
Wow.
Try again.
Yeah. Right.
And then when I said I don't think I do, and then my professor was like, got kind of mad, and he was like, everybody has bias against somebody.
Yeah.
Basically.
You tell him it was against him at that point?
What's that?
Did you tell him your bias was against him at that point?
I should have.
Yeah, I'm just being silly.
I'll have to check that out. I mean, if it's not too long, I might give it a shot. I'd be interested to see what my results are.
Yeah, I wonder, because we still have access to our old classes. I wonder if any of the content would still be there, if we could find
like a diversity in organization.
Diversity. I did take that one, but I don't remember doing that.
It's called the implicit bias test.
All right, I'll check it out.
I'm sure you could find it on Google.
Yeah. All right, so there's some more stuff down here at the bottom, just further notes. I don't know if this is gonna help as much. So I saw, obviously, at the end of the movie where it talked about his wife and how she lobbied to like have the national holiday, which I don't even know how that goes because we haven't like distinguished a new holiday in my lifetime. But like I can imagine that was really hard to do for her. Like, and we're still not at a place where that's a nationally recognized holiday. Like I still work on that day, and I work with people who have to use PTO and take the day off and feel very strongly about it. So
got the day off. That's a trip.
You got the day off?
Luther King Day off work, yeah.
We did not. We never have.
We get a vote on our holidays, so it's kind of like it's one of those democratic processes that Boeing loves to use.
That's kind of neat, though. So what are your recognized holidays at Boeing?
So we get the 2-week stand down during Christmas, like we talked about.
That's awesome.
And we get like 12 days that we get to choose, 12 8-hour days that we get to choose from for the entire year. What's that?
Who's ever voted on April 20th?
Oh my word.
They'd be like, come to the office, please, and pee in this cup.
Pee in this cup.
That is cool.
There's free haircuts on April 21st.
Yeah, so if people vote on stuff like that, it usually doesn't go well because it's a Boeing-wide, or actually it's Boeing Salt Lake wide. So usually you get like anywhere around 4th of July, you get, the main holidays.
Yeah.
Do you vote every year? Like, does it change?
Every year. Yeah, every year.
And is it usually like the actual holidays, or that seems such a weird process?
So we'll do like Memorial, Labor Day is always gets picked because that gives people like a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
So those always get picked, and usually if like 4th of July hangs around like a weekend, then they'll do like Friday. Like I think there was one year, even last year, it was like on a Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
So people took Thursday, Friday off, or voted for it. So it actually works out pretty good because you really do get the most out of your weekends that way.
That's really cool.
You ever have Black Friday? I worked for a company that actually for 2 years, it was only 2 years though, they actually gave Thanksgiving and Black Friday off as holiday days.
That's what we do.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. I just didn't know that was...
Yeah, but we only have 7. We only have 7 holidays total a year. So you guys get 12 plus your 2 weeks Sandown. That's amazing.
That like
ever work?
And then we get like 80 hours of PTO. Yeah,
Good heavens. That's amazing. Are they hiring?
Maybe. I'm sure they are.
Maybe. We'll see what happens here. Tommy's got his site, my husband, going back to Phoenix, so we'll see.
You could always go back to Tempe and work there. They're doing pretty good.
No, I don't know if I want to go back to the heat.
That lady will be driving around in her van.
Ugh, horrible person.
All right. So
all right, guys, we did it. Great job.
Okay. See ya.
See you guys.
Have a good one.